everybody. Welcome back to More Than You Can Handle. Today's guest comes to us from Cincinnati, Ohio. He's a very funny stand-up comedian. Has a very funny podcast, Road Killers, that you should totally check out. And
you haven't listened to it. What do you do?
Okay, that's true. I don't know. That's funny.
It's fine. It's fine. Sorry,
and
continue.
Also, even better, he will soon be recording his first comedy special with Dry Bar Comedy. It's the very funny Zach Wycuff, everybody.
The crowd roaring inside my apartment. I have prisoners. How you doing, buddy?
Hey. All right,
Thanks for having me.
You bet, of course. You were one of the first people that I wanted to interview.
Aw.
Yeah, no, I know you have a weird religious background.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Still doing it. Isn't that crazy? I stayed with it. I stayed it's like that thing of like when you go back to like your hometown and people are still just hanging out there and like you're still doing it, huh?
Good for you, man. That's good.
Good for you.
Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's like when you see one of your boys wearing like the high school varsity jacket. Like a lot of people took that off a while ago. But I'm still rocking it, baby.
Hey, that used to be cool. That used to be something.
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Tell us. What is your weird religious background, Zach?
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, we are getting right into it. Okay.
Dude, we're not wasting any time. I don't like long podcasts, so.
Oh, great.
We're just getting right into it.
Well, if you want to keep it short, I was born into sin. I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and now I'm going to die and go to heaven. And
all right.
Trying to bring everybody with me.
All right.
But the longer version.
Proselytizing on the podcast here.
I'm sorry, I wasn't given the rules. I do love rules. That's like my number one thing. My parents were in a small Southern gospel group known as the Heaven Bound Singers. So most of my childhood, I spent in a big old 1953 Ford Flex bus and just hopping around to different little cornfields that had churches in them and hanging out with 60-year-olds. You know, like none of the people from my childhood were paying full price at a buffet. You know what I mean? A lot of senior discounts where I was hanging out. So, I mean, it's so strange. Like, I did go to, like, public school, but I think because of my background, people are surprised that I was not homeschooled. I'm like a undercover officer for homeschool, dude. But, yeah, man, just spent a lot of my childhood, you know, just from earliest as you can, just being told I'm going to hell. And I don't think there's been any weird psychological effects from that. Probably not.
That's very different from being told go to hell. Being told you're going to go to hell.
That's a little more intimidating, isn't it?
It is when you think about it. Yeah.
Go to hell, like we all are, buddy.
Now people just tell you to go to hell. Get off stage. Go to hell.
Are you getting a lot of that when you're on stage?
Man. Oh, heck yeah, dude. Every church I do.
That's the churches. That's brutal, dude.
So, so what did you do in the band? What was your role?
So as a youngin', ironically, I didn't want to be on stage. As a child, and then I got over that, I guess. But I spent most of my childhood like just underneath pews, coloring, doing some math. It didn't stick, and only later, when I got to like age 16 or so, did I like start playing drums for the band. Some people call it the golden age of the Heaven Bound Gospel Singers. But yeah, dude, it was honestly like, it was really embarrassing because I didn't have a drum kit. It was like an electric pad, but it didn't even look like electric drums, like a rock band set. It looked like a plastic school desk that just had like little black circles on it, and I would sit in front of people and just hit my little plastic pad. Sometimes they turned me down so much you could hear me hitting the pad more than the sound of the
Right.
fake drums.
Right.
It literally would have made more sense if I had a drum set from Rock Band.
They were like, "Oh, look, they're letting the little boy play his toys on the stage."
Yeah, I'll be
That's
ready with
sweet.
setup just as soon as this PlayStation 2 fires up. Yeah. Yeah, dude, it was it was embarrassing, but we had fun. The band, I mean, existed from it's wild from like 1960 something, and they just disbanded in like 2016.
Wow. When did
So-
you quit? Or
Yeah.
get fired? Or what happened? What's the scandal? What's going to be in the documentary?
Yeah, it turns out one person was stealing all the profits, and it was Linda. Oh no. No, dude, I just went off to college and I started sinning, and I went off to UC. The band was up in Columbus, so they kept going without me.
UC, University of Cincinnati.
University of Cincinnati. That's
Okay.
right. Let's go Bearcats.
Okay. Yeah. So, what was it like growing up? Did it seem weird to you, or was this just normal? Did you buy in to the religious stuff?
Yeah.
The whole thing? Yeah.
That's a good question. I always felt like out of place, and I think that was a lot of dealing
In,
with
in the church? In the church or in
Yes.
school? Or,
both,
Okay.
all
Both.
of it. Yeah,
Okay.
which I
Yeah.
think is like almost a prerequisite of being a comedian,
Yes,
right?
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like just noticing like there's something happening here, and that ain't me, you know?
Yeah.
Just like a lot of just pants all the way up to the nipples, just like high pants, a bunch of blue hair,
Low nipples.
low nipples, tucking the nips into the pants. I don't know. There was no one within like 5 years on either side of me in the church I grew up in.
Okay.
And like then I would go to school and be like the only like, I don't know, Christian boy, good kid. You know what I mean? And that just looked like me being like way too nice, like a probably serial killer level of nice, So did I buy in? I don't know, like the way you do when you're like 5 and you're like, I don't want to go to hell. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to hold open doors for kids on the playground. I don't know. Yeah.
Y'all had doors on your playground? That's wild. What denomination?
What?
I don't know. I've never been to public school. Maybe they have doors on the playgrounds. I'm trying to imagine it.
There were doors out to the playground, and then when
Okay.
you get out there, it's just a wide open space where kids hit you with rocks. It's a lot of that. Did we? What was your question again? I'm so sorry.
What denomination? Was your
Oh,
church?
we were Baptist, Free Will Baptist. We were just a bunch
Free
of
Will
wet
Baptist.
Christians.
Okay.
Keeping it moist for the Lord. Boy, that's the new tagline for the Free Will Baptist. Which, yeah, I don't know. That seems to be the most normal one to me, but that's like also just how I grew up.
Okay.
It's weird. We were in Columbus, but I swear everyone there like had some sort of tie to like West Virginia. So there was a lot of drawl in just the middle Columbus, Ohio, for no reason. It was so we had a little bit of Southern flair to it.
Okay.
For a while, I thought we were Southern Baptist just because I heard that term, but no, we just have a bunch of people from the South that are Baptist.
Yeah. Do you know what's the difference between a Free Will Baptist and the Southern Baptist?
My understanding is that like Southern Baptists A little more racist, but other than that, I think
they broke off to preserve segregation, so that's definitely...
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay,
yeah.
well, yeah, we definitely weren't that. Shouts
Okay.
out.
Okay.
Nailed that. You're right. I think that is part of it. I also the way it was explained to me as a child was like, Southern Baptists believe once you're saved, you're always saved. You know, so you accept Jesus once, then you can just own people, and that's fine.
Right.
Maybe that. I never.
Free Will Baptist, it was like it could be at any moment you could screw it up.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
probably
That's good. That's good.
contributing
for your
to right.
mental health. Yeah.
We have anxiety. It's fine. We're doing all right. Everybody does. If you don't have anxiety, you might not be fully alive. You know what I mean?
So did you ever have like a rebellious phase against the church or the faith you grew up with?
Yeah. Boy. I think going off to college, I like had to figure out how to make it my own. You know what I mean? Like, I think I just realized, like, the faith my parents have and like what I found are not exactly the same. But I did like, I don't know, there was just like stuff that I just assumed to be true, like, oh yeah, the earth is 6,000 years old, and then you're like, wait, there are like trees that are older than that. That's weird. You know? Like I'm in the back of it, like a class on dinosaurs, and I'm like, where did they put the saddle for this? You know what I mean? They got the spiky backs. How do they ride those things? You know?
Yeah. How come it didn't poke holes in Noah's Ark? How did that
work? Right. So there's just I don't know. There's just like stuff that I had to work out for myself. So I don't think.
And was that a pretty seamless process? Like you felt like, no, I can figure out how to integrate this new learning I'm getting at Cincinnati with my upbringing?
I think so. Because, I don't know. What I've come to find more than anything is just like, dude, I don't know. I don't know all the stuff. I don't have all the answers, but I do think, like, I don't know. Jesus is something. We keep coming back to him. You know? I feel like there's something there.
Okay.
You know? And I feel like if that is true, everything else will work itself out. You know what I mean? That's
sounds
kind of all of it.
Heretical to me, buddy. Good luck with all that.
I don't know, dude. But yeah, Jesus is cool, and that's all that I claim to know.
That's what you figured out in college.
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
How did that affect you? Like, did you?
If you talked about like like my first weekend in college, I had half a natty light, and I was like, I've messed up. I'm sick. I'm going to hell.
I mean, if you're gonna go halfway, why not just go all the way? I mean,
why didn't I have a real beer instead of a natty light? A lot of questions.
Because you're in Cincinnati, that's why.
I did go to another party later, and someone handed me this lemonade. I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." And then I found out later that it had Everclear in it. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna clean my insides." Also, why does it taste good? Oh no. But yeah, so I don't know, man. I didn't have like a big. I wish I had like cool rebellious stories.
No, I mean this is interesting because, I mean most people that I talk to about this did have that.
Yeah,
did have some kind of rebelling against the whatever they grew up with.
Yeah.
So that's but I guess I don't know.
The closest I come to rebelling is like I I still go to church, but I also like drink beer and say swears. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I go to I'm in a bar 5 nights a week, and that like at one point was pretty edgy for me,
Yeah.
to the idea of being around sin, you know?
Right.
That's maybe the closest I've come is doing stand up, you know?
Yeah. You also say says swears, which is a wonderful phrase.
Every once in a while, dude, don't you might just don't piss me off.
Maybe we'll hear one today on the podcast.
I don't know, dude. If I get peeved enough. I don't know, dude. We'll see.
So you get through college, faith intact, maybe a few adjustments here and there. With some of the like kind of ideas about science and history and whatnot, but you were able to integrate that all pretty seamlessly. Didn't turn your world upside down.
I mean, there were definitely there were periods of questioning and I don't, I actually took a apologetics class at one point, which actually was really helpful just to know that oh, okay, you don't have to be a dummy to to believe this stuff. You don't have to be an idiot. It doesn't have to be an unconsidered thing. There's Jesus is, the Bible said it, I believe it. It doesn't have to be that,
Yeah.
And I don't know, just reading stuff I mean, you've probably messed with C.S. Lewis back in the day. That dude's pretty smart, and I don't know, I just enjoyed reading some of that stuff. So there definitely was question.
You were definitely searching for reasons for what you believed.
Yes,
ways to justify it to yourself.
Probably, yeah, that would probably be the closest way to say it. Yeah.
I
don't know. What about you? Have you told your story on this pod? Probably.
This isn't about me.
So, you're right, it's about him. That's right.
Wow, that was quick, dude. That was right there.
I'm true. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, dude. Oh man,
that's great.
I skipped church this morning. I gotta prophesize to somebody. You believe that?
I do believe it. I think we're starting to rub off on you a little bit.
Honestly, maybe. I don't know. I was at a wedding last night, and I woke up this morning with a little head hurting a little bit.
Ooh,
what? I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Been chugging coffee this entire podcast. No, dude, I've never said.
All right, so you get through college. You read some books finally. Get some
right.
Get some thoughts in your head, and and then you're out. Then you're out into the big wide world. What are you doing?
Yeah, so right out of school, I started as a probation officer. I got my master's in criminal justice because the whole thing I was I don't know. I knew that I came from a place of relative privilege even before that was a term, before that was a buzzword. I knew that was I knew that I'm doing all right, and I feel I want to help people somehow. And so I thought I was going to be well, I did think I was going to be a firefighter at one point, because I thought I don't know, that's a fun active job, and you're helping people and you're getting cats out of trees or whatever, and then I looked into it. I was well, if I'm probably too smart for that. that's sorry, firefighters, I don't think that. I don't.
So
that's 2011, Zach. That's not me now. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I
let
like
me
if
do
I'm gonna go to
something
school.
even dumber and become a cop.
I thought if I'm gonna go to school, I'm gonna get a 4-year degree. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna halfway do it. So I did think I was
Because
gonna be a cop.
because you don't need a 4-year degree to be a firefighter, but you do to be a cop.
You actually don't even need. You still don't need a college degree to be a cop, which is crazy. Yep, stifle a laugh. But I thought, like, I don't know, like maybe there's like FBI. There's like, I don't know, I could be a detective, whatever.
Be one of the good ones.
Hopefully, you know.
Yeah.
I know people have opinions on that, but
You know I have opinions on that.
right. So, in college, I was taking all these classes, and I realized, like, dude, I'm not a cop. Like, I'm not like a pull you over and like be excited about giving tickets. Like, that's not me. But I did take this class called Corrections in the Community, and it was all about, like, hey, like, as messed up as the system is, there is this thing, probation, where, you know, people mess up, and you get to be the one to, like, actually, like, maybe help them out and, like, point them to resources and, like, be, like, a positive, you know, like, influence in their life and, like, hopefully, like, not send them back to prison, which just only makes people worse. That's statistically, like, the revolving door of recidivism is bananas. So I thought I would go do that and like serve people in that way. You know what I mean? Like, just try to, like you said, try to be one of the good ones. So I actually did really like that job. I did it for 3 years. So I don't know.
And did you see
how
it
much
as
good
like?
I did?
Did you see it as like an expression of your faith?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, I never like outwardly said that in the interview or whatever. Like,
Sure.
They're like, "Why do you want this job?" "I'm here to be the hands and feet of Jesus." You know. But like, kinda, yeah. Like, I wanted to, you know, like the whole story of the Bible is one of redemption, right? Like, you mess up and there is like we all, you know, are flawed and we all make mistakes, we all mess up, and like there's someone who makes that okay and like offers like a hand back into community and back into relationship, and I kind of wanted to like practically do that, you know.
Do you feel like you did?
I hope so. It looks like me giving probably a few more chances than I should have a couple times, if we're being honest. But I don't know. That's one of those weird things is like with like people coming to see you in that job, like the better they were doing, the less you saw them, and the worse people were doing, the more you saw them. So it really was kind of impossible to tell because you're just only dealing with like the worst of the worst, you know?
Yeah.
People who are like continuing to, to choose the wrong path.
So why did
know?
you get out of that?
So, then I just decided those people are irredeemable and I'm done. Done with them. Nah, dude. No, so that whole time, I started doing stand-up, like, sophomore year of college or so. And so that whole time, I would go to work, do my thing, and then I would bring, like, a change of clothes and, like, change in the bathroom and leave out the back door to, like, drive to Louisville or Indianapolis or Columbus or wherever to go do stand-up. So I was doing stand-up that whole time, and I had got a call from a church, LOL, and they wanted a guy to run their social media, and I considered it because I was like, I mean, getting paid to be creative is kind of like the end goal, you know? Like, I think I want to do this long term. So feels like kind of like a step in that direction. And I'd kind of noticed too, like every day I would like leave work at lunch and walk to a little coffee shop that was right across the street, and I would sit and write jokes, and then I'd go back and be a cop. And I realized like that is just such a wild gear shift for your brain. You know what I mean? To like to be like, hey man, like these are the things you can do, or I literally have to send you, like it's not like legally I have to send you to prison if you don't do these things. And then walk to a coffee shop and be like, man, farts are weird. You know? And then go right back and be like, so we should probably stop smoking weed. You know what I mean? Like it's just such a hard gear shift.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I as much as I did really like doing that job, but I wanted to tell jokes more.
Yeah. How did you discover comedy? How'd you get into it? Were you allowed to listen to comedy growing up?
Yeah. So, wonderful question. Sometimes on like the longer road trips, my grandpa Poppy, he would pop in some Jeff Foxworthy.
Yeah.
Or Mark Lowry, if you know who that is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Big Christian comedian. Maybe the biggest ever.
He might be. He
Yeah.
might be. Because
Yeah,
even
I mean-
people like now that like Tim Hawkins, who's like huge, or even John
Yeah.
Chris, like I don't know if like they had he was the guy
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah. And it was legit good.
Yeah, I enjoyed
Yeah.
it, but I
Yeah.
also didn't know anything else. So
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. There was did you ever hear about a thing called Thou Shalt Laugh? Do you know what that is?
Oh, were those videos that they released? I think I
Yes.
remember seeing those in the Christian bookstore.
Yeah, it was probably like the
Yeah.
predecessor to Dry Bar.
Oh,
You know?
Right.
It was a bunch of Christian comedians, and I remember watching that and be like, boy, this kind of sucks.
Oh,
like
really?
there was like, I don't know, there was some good stuff in there, but like it just bothered me that a lot of that stuff was just like, oh, this is Christian jokes for Christian people.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah.
Just like it sucks. And I always thought like, I don't know, man, like if there is like a creator of the universe, like if he made everything, don't you think the stuff that he makes and the stuff people makes in his name should be good? You know what I mean? Like the people like people that like Jesus created the Sistine Chapel and like the Mona Lisa, like all that stuff. Like good art should come from people that, you know, believe in the creator of the universe. If he
Yeah.
creates everything, we should probably be creating good stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
that Larry Norman quote, why should the devil have all the good music?
Right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
See?
That's
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
That's
you
going
wanted
in the
to
old
be
holster.
the jars of clay of Christian comedy instead of the DC Talk or the Newsboys.
How dare you? Those guys. How dare you? Toby Mac, dude, he's deep in there, dude. Yeah, what was his album? It was No. Also, Kirk Franklin. That dude rules, unironically.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
Kirk Franklin unironically slaps.
Gospel music artist. If y'all aren't familiar, look him up.
Woo.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So anyways, all that to say, how did I get into stand-up? I just always had an appreciation for it. Like, there's a picture, also on these long road trips, when, you know, there was like nothing for me to do. I'd play Game Boy or whatever, play Pokemon. But also the other thing, I would always read the Sunday comics. That was like my favorite thing to do. Like, there's a picture of me, like 6 years old with a little bowl cut, reading the Sunday comics in the back of the car. And I loved that stuff. I loved, like, we would come home on Saturday nights from church, and we would watch Saturday Night Live, which I don't know why I was allowed to watch that, but watching SNL, like, I always loved like the sketches. There's they're always up and down, but like Weekend Update was always great. I always loved Weekend Update. Mm-hmm. Like I think that was like the Tina Fey, Seth Meyers era.
Okay.
You always like your era the best or whatever.
Right.
I actually
Right.
really like Colin Jost and Michael Che. I think they're great. But
I think Norm Macdonald was the best, but
that's fun.
yeah,
Was that your era? You're old.
probably. Yeah.
So yeah, I always loved jokes, and then when I got to college, my my mentor was telling me about how he did like improv in college, and I was like, wait, you can just like do that? Like I didn't really like I thought you had to like be in New York or L.A. like some sort of like weird comedy school of witchcraft and wizardry or something. But I found out you could just go do it. So I waited until I was 21 because I thought that's how you. I thought you had to do that to be in bars. I thought I had to be 21. So the week after I turned 21, I went on stage at Go Bananas and murdered.
That's
So that's
most people are excited to get to start drinking or go have sex.
Nope, not that.
Zach was biding his time till he could go and do stand up for the first time. Finally of age. That's beautiful. So you went to a club. That's the first place you did stand up? Was it Go Bananas?
Yeah. Because literally I just Googled like open mics Cincinnati, and it was like the first thing that popped up. And I think like someone had connected me with my mentor knew like one guy that did stand up, and I think they recommended. I'm actually really glad that I did it that way, because at least the open mic here at Go Bananas, shouts out, Cincinnati's finest. It's like super, like the open mic is like super supportive, and like people want you to do good, like it was, it did also like, I don't know. So the first time did go really well. But then that got me into thinking like, oh, I figured it out. Yeah. This is easy. And then so I think I went the next 10 times on stage before I got a laugh, like single. But I was chasing that dragon that first time, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was it that kept you doing it? Just that feeling of getting a laugh? It was just...
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's heroin. I mean, I wouldn't know. I could ask some guys that do know. That would actually be fun. Like, hey, you think that's cool? Why don't you come over to this open mic and see what you get addicted to? They're like, once I wake up from this 16-hour nap, that sounds like a good idea. That's crazy. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy. Don't put that in. I'm sorry.
Oh, man. No, that's staying in. That's going to be the promo.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. All right. So you stopped getting high on Jesus and started getting high on jokes. And then what happened?
Doing both. Doing both, baby.
Yeah. So how was that? How do you see the relation between your faith and comedy, if at all? Yeah. So that was a weird transition from when I stopped doing the probation thing and started to like go more into comedy, because I knew that I like wanted to like serve, you know what I mean? Like just like do something to help people. And when you're basically a social worker, which is kind of like how I treated it, like it's very easy to see like how you're serving people, with comedy it is a lot more ethereal. It is a lot more like I'm making people that are drinking on a Tuesday feel nice for 3 minutes, like it's a lot weirder. But the way I enough about your girlfriends. I'm talking about comedy. What's up? Come on. No, I've never made a lady feel nice, but the way I look at it is like, I don't know, man. Like, there's never been more comedians, I don't think,
and there's never been like more. I think power that comedians have had. Like Joe Rogan is the biggest, like one of the biggest platforms on the planet, just off of like talking about conspiracy theories and occasionally doing stand-up comedy. Like like they're
second to this podcast.
Of course. Yeah. The second, that's right. So the way I think about it is like, I don't know, man, like people are like gonna get this no matter what. And like, there is like a lot of darkness in comedy. There just really is. Like, just with, you know, comedians a lot of us are kind of lost puppies, little broken people. Like, stand-up is my therapy. Like, there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
And
terrible therapy, by the way. It's the worst.
So
therapy.
bad. Yeah, absolutely. You shouldn't get addicted to therapy. That's not good.
Yeah.
But so my thinking is like, I don't know, if this is gonna happen anyways, like maybe I can just like be. It's so freaking cheesy, dude. But like, do you know what I'm gonna say?
Say it.
I'm gonna be a light in a dark space. I'm so ashamed.
It's a safe place, buddy. It's a safe place. Just bare your soul. Let us know what you really think about us.
Oh, and I'm putting me into that group too. I'm putting me in that group. I don't do this because I am mentally well. You know what I mean?
I am the worst of sinners.
That's right. Yeah, you know your stuff, dude. Heck yeah. Come on.
What's up?
At least one of these.
Apostle Paul.
That's right. At least one of those books is a Bible. And also just like what I was saying, like before, like, you know, like if, I don't know, if there's a God who created stuff, like why shouldn't his stuff be good? And I want what I make to be good, you know?
Yeah.
Hopefully it is. I don't know.
It's getting better.
There's always room for improvement.
Forever. That's actually one of the great. No, seriously, that's one of the great things about comedy. Is like, nobody feels like they've mastered it. Yeah. Even people who've been doing it 30, 40 years still feel like they can get better. You know. So
yeah, I've heard like Bill Burr talk about that. Like each special, he just like picks a thing to like work on. Like Bill, like one of the biggest comedians working right now, like. He's like, okay, I'm going to take this special and I'm going to work on act outs, or I'm going to work on voices, or I'm going to work on different, whatever. Like, there's always room to improve.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it ever feel like, coming from basically like a social work background, like you said, helping people, and it's very obvious how you're helping them.
Yeah.
Did comedy, putting so much time into comedy, feel selfish at all?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Egotistical. Did you struggle with that?
Talk about bared soul. Dang, dude. All right.
I bring that up. I bring that up because that's something I've struggled with.
Sure.
Yeah.
That absolutely was a thing, because it's hard to not feel a little ego trip when this is the show. There's a spotlight on you. You have a microphone, and if anybody else talks, they get kicked out. You know, they have to leave. And the show is me talking. That's crazy. Like, it's not Broadway where we're putting on costumes and dancing. Like, nope, I'm just going to tell you about how I had tried to kiss a girl and it went bad. You know, like, that's the show. So, the way so ironically, I actually heard a Christian comedian talking about this that I feel like was actually really helpful. Was like, I think it was like, it was either Tim Hawkins or Michael Jr., one of those guys, if you know who that is. Just talking about, like, God, this is going to be so cheesy again. But that flip of, like, I realized, like, I was trying to get laughter from people. And what if instead I tried to give laughter to people? You know, like, needing that, like, affirmation versus, like, nah, dude, just like being happy in 2023 in America is really hard. It's there's a lot of things that have to happen to just feel good. So like if me being goofy and being silly and putting a lot of work into that can help people feel that way for a minute, that's kind of valuable. You know? Just like, I don't know, you really do need that release. Like it's a biological function. Like we need to laugh. So that's that little switch is kind of cheesy, but it does like change your mindset a little bit of like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about, I'm wondering that like is there anything about the practice of comedy or anything you do to prepare or to write that is like a spiritual practice for you?
That's interesting. I mean, I definitely think there is something to like when you get that like flow state, and I think I've heard, non-religious creators talk about this too. Like there is something that like you tap into something, and it's like it feels more like you're taking dictation than you are, like creating something. You know what I mean? Like there is that space you get to, and I don't know. For me, I do think there is something to that. Like I do think that like. I've heard someone smarter than me say like ideas come from one of three places, like from heaven, from earth, or from hell. And 90% of my stuff is probably just dumb, silly ideas from me. But like, I hope that some of this stuff is, it sounds so douchey, but I hope that some of the stuff is like, I don't know, comes from not me. So, like, I don't know, trying to, like, sit down and write, it's,
You are trying to tap into some kind of truth about reality?
Exactly. Thank you. That's
Okay.
a great way to say it. I've heard, like, the Avett Brothers, if you like them, band, but they talk about, like, sitting down and writing is kind of like, just, like, setting the table and waiting for a steak to materialize. You know? Like, you can't really make it happen. Like but you have to sit down and do the practice of it. And that's kind of like anything. That's like any relationship, really. Like sometimes it's more about the quantity time more than the quality, right? Like, just like I imagine you know that as a father of 33 children and and husband. Like sometimes it's just about like being there more than like having deep intentional conversation. Like I think just being there is more valuable. So that's kind of how I don't know, I look at like writing, and like kind of not too dissimilar from prayer. Like you do it, and sometimes it's like nothing, and other times it's like, oh, like I like tapped into something there, I think.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me like how sometimes you can only discover a joke or a tag when you're in the moment in front of a crowd. And it's like y'all discover it together. It pulls something out of you. You're doing an open mic, you do a joke you've done 100 times. Yeah. And then in the moment, something occurs to you and it clicks. Yeah. And it's like this moment of mutual discovery that couldn't have happened. You needed people there to like make that happen.
Absolutely, yeah. There's like something communal about it, and that's what the whole conceit of stand-up is, anyways. Right? Is like, here's this conversation that we're happening, but really, I've thought about this a lot. But you're right. The best stuff, at least for me too, comes from just talking to people. It's really hard to like manufacture connection or like manufacture like that fun little tag or whatever.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think about death very much?
What a transition. For sure. I mean, who doesn't? Yeah. I don't know. I think I like to think there's something else after this, you know?
Yeah.
I recently came across a podcast of a dude that, like, he studies near-death experiences, and he is, like, a pastor. But he's talked to, like, almost, like, 2,000 people who have had near-death experiences and, like, compares and contrasts some of their stories, and it's, like, kind of wild how similar they are. And, like, I know that, like, there's, like, that thing of, like, well, when you die, like, your brain releases DMT, and maybe you're just tripping. I don't know. But then there's, like, all these stories of, like, things that they, like, couldn't have possibly known. Like, their body was lifted, and they, like, saw something on the roof of the hospital, and they, like, told the people, and they went up there, and there was, like, yeah, there's a red ball and, like, a flip-flop underneath the air compressor, and they went up there, and there was. I'm like, how would... That's crazy. Yeah, just, like, wild stuff like that. I don't know. Do I think about death? Yeah. But I also think about, like, the whole thing with Christianity is, like, one day, you know, that I grew up thinking it was like, one day we'll be in heaven and everything will be perfect and there'll be cherubs playing harps or whatever. But more now I think about, like, I don't think heaven is somewhere else. I think, like, heaven is supposed to be here on this earth, and, like, everything I do between now and then should be hopefully trying to bring more heaven to earth. And as silly it is, like, when I feel like when people are, like, laughing, like, together in a group of people, like, that, like, not many things feel better than that. And I say that being a virgin, but so take that with a grain of salt. But I hope that, you know, me doing stand-up gets people a little bit closer to heaven, not whatever else.
Oh my God.
There's your clip.
Yeah, for real. Let's get this man a girlfriend. Come on.
I mean, hey, I'm going to go to Utah in a couple weeks, and I'm going to be blown away if I don't leave there with at least 5 to 10 wives.
Oh, man.
Offers, if nothing else.
Do you think about how you want to be remembered?
Oh, boy. Maybe not as much as I should. I'd say I do. Yeah, I don't know, man. I want to be, like, someone who brings love and light wherever I go, and hopefully, like I said, like, I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of the, like, the way I grew up, one of the, like, stories that I think about a lot is, like, the parable of the talents. Do you know that one? Mm-hmm. Just, like, this thing of, like, this ruler was going to leave, and he's like, hey, I'm going to give this guy this much, this guy this much, and this guy this much. And he comes back, and one guy invested well and made more. One guy invested well and made more. And one guy buried his thing in the sand and just, like, gave it back. Here you go, nothing else. And that guy got his teeth kicked in. So I think all the time a lot about, like, man, I feel like I've really been given a lot. And I want to do the absolute best with what I've been given. The Spider-Man thing, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. Like, I don't know, I feel like I've been given a lot, and I want to be known as someone who made the best with what they had. You know?
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
I hope so. You're beautiful.
All right, last question. What's been helpful or particularly meaningful to you lately? Could be a book or TV show, movie, podcast, quote.
Yeah.
A practice. I don't know. What?
Yeah. Weirdly, so that thing I was telling you about is the book's called Imagine Heaven. I haven't even started reading it yet. I just heard the podcast of the guy and was blown away. And I don't know. It's just I'm just thinking more about like how do we make heaven happen here now? You know, I heard a quote from an author I like. His name Bob Goff. He said like if following Jesus doesn't bring you closer to people that are tired, hungry, poor, homeless, all that stuff, like if he's not bringing you closer to those people, then you might not be following Jesus. Like that's like that Matthew 26 thing, like the sheep and the goats. Look it up at home. Like if you're not doing that stuff, you might not be following Jesus. So I don't know. I'm thinking more about like how to not just like be funnier, which hopefully I want to do that, but also like actively serve people in not an ethereal way as well. You know? So I just haven't I still don't know what that looks like. I'm figuring it out. Do I go to prisons? I do want to do stand up in prisons. I've done it one time and it rocked. Have you?
No, I've never done it, but one of my favorite comics is Ali Sadiq.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
know him?
I've seen his name. I've not heard.
He spent time in prison, and he does comedy in prisons now, and filmed at least one of his specials in prison. It's fantastic.
That rules.
Yeah.
That rules. Yeah. So I mean, not just like doing stand up, but also like actively serving people. I would love to figure out how to do that well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, man, besides prison, where else can people find you and
that's right.
find out about your comedy and all
that's
that
right.
good stuff?
Yeah. I am at @Wycuff on everything. I got my little podcast that's very funny, even though Jeremy's never listened to it. And brother, there's too many podcasts out there. And hopefully,
I've also never been a guest.
Not yet. Not yet.
Right.
We have enough white men, but when we need one, you'll be my first call, buddy. Yeah, find me on the internet. I'm out here, baby.
Sweet.
And hopefully soon on Dry Bar. We'll see.
Yeah,
How long did it
buddy.
take yours to get released? Was it like a year?
Let's see. Filmed end of April, came out that August. So I don't know, 6 months.
Oh, that's not bad.
Which was faster than normal, I think. I don't. It seems like a lot of them take a year, sometimes 2 years.
Wow. Do you think they like sped yours up because you crushed so hard? You can say yeah.
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 I do.
Yeah, you did.
I do.
You
I
dog.
do think that's why.
That rules. And isn't it still
so
like?
I think yours will probably come out in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think if it ever sees the light of day, it'll probably
straight to YouTube. Straight to YouTube.
Yeah, I still don't know if I can talk about being a virgin on there, dude. I don't know. I don't know. Is that too edgy for Mormons? I don't know. We're going to find out.
I don't know, but it's not too edgy for this podcast.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, Zach.
Absolutely, buddy.
Good talking to you, man.
Big fan.